On October 12, 1933, the small island in the San Francisco Bay called Alcatraz became a federal prison. Alcatraz was designed to hold prisoners who continuously caused trouble at other prisons. And during its 29 years of operation, the penitentiary claimed that no prisoner successfully escaped. A total of 36 prisoners made 14 escape attempts, 2 men trying twice. 23 were caught alive, 6 were shot, killed during their escape, 2 drowned, and 5 are listed as missing and presumed drowned. Though many believe this to be false, was there ever a successful escape attempt? Let's find out on this episode of Laughs from the Past. I mean, the Al Capone stuff I heard is, it's basically me turning up the meter a notch on my normal voice and then just going a little old oh, my wife and kids, they don't know what's going on. They just think I'm, working with the butcher down the block.
Have you been to Alcatraz?
I have not.
It's my favorite place. I've been like 7 times.
Favorite place?
Well, I mean, okay. Jeez. That's so annoying.
Well, it's a pretty strong place to call the historic prison your favorite place. It probably is some people's favorite place, which is cool.
Okay, it's my favorite tourist place I've ever been. Would that make you happy?
Yeah, that's extremely impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, it's easily my favorite tourist site or attraction or tour I've ever done. I've done the tour like 7 times.
I think that's a lot more impactful than saying it's your favorite place.
Well, I mean, yeah. It's just like I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think everyone should do the tour. Everyone does. It's the most popular tour in America. I think it gets 1 million visitors every year, and it's the #1 tourist attraction in America every year, which is crazy because I think a lot of people they just go to San Francisco and they're like, what's this? And then they get there and like, oh shit, it's dark.
Yeah. I mean, I've tried to go, but every time I'm normally visiting friends or even seeing you when you lived out there, and it's usually a couple weeks out, and I mean tickets are normally sold out, so I've never been able to go. But
yeah,
that's how popular it is.
So, I mean, we can do a little bit of the history about Alcatraz or these prisoners that escaped, but really what we're doing is there's one set of prisoners. They made a movie about it, Clint Eastwood, The Escape from Alcatraz. Did they survive? Because a lot of people think they escaped successfully, but the official investigation says that they didn't.
Right. Can't give them that confidence.
Yeah. I was trying to figure out why Alcatraz is named Alcatraz.
Okay.
And it says it comes from the Spanish Alcatraces. Was the first to sail into what is now known as San Francisco Bay. His expedition mapped the bay, and that was his name. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. That's a bad answer. Whatever. Alcatraz, for anyone who doesn't know, who's never been to San Francisco, you can see it.
Yeah.
Like, it's that close. I always think that back when prisoners were there, you would just look out into the ocean, the water, the bay, and be like, there's all the prisoners right there.
Yeah. Or vice versa. There's all the free people.
Well, that was part of the shittiness of Alcatraz, is that you could hear the nightlife. If the winds were blowing to the west, it would bring the noise of the city to Alcatraz, so
right.
you could hear the free people.
Freedom.
Yeah, especially on like New Year's Eve with big party nights and stuff like that. It was nuts. All right. So Alcatraz was originally used as Civil War fort, Jake, then a military prison, and then the federal prison took it over and said, we need someplace to just to put the worst criminals.
Where do we put the bad guys?
Some criminals were so notorious and connected, like Capone, but Capone wasn't at this point. But there was another guy, I forget his name. They tell you when you're on tour. They drove. So it's an island and it's a big peninsula. So there's a couple bridges that you can get to. So they acted as if the prisoner was coming this way, and they told everyone and put guards and everyone this way on the like Oakland side of the bridge.
Sure.
Because they were so worried about an escape attempt. And they, instead of taking the prisoner out of the train, they put that train, what's it called? Blanking. Like section of the train
Caboose,
maybe. I think that's the last one.
Yeah.
Cart. I can't think of it.
Train cart. Yeah.
They put that onto a boat and boated over the train and then rode it on like a little bit of tracks and then released him because they didn't want to take him out of the train at all.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Really nuts. Anyway, the escape we're talking about. Well, let's do this first. Let's do 10 things. We did this last week with Huey Long. Just like a quick 10 things about Alcatraz.
Sure.
Military prisoners were Alcatraz's first inmates. So once the gold rush of the 1840s turned San Francisco into a boom town, Alcatraz was dedicated to military use. The U.S. Army began incarcerating military prisoners inside the new fortress in the late 1850s. During the Civil War, prisoners included Union deserters and Confederate sympathizers. The cells were also used to imprison Native Americans who had land disagreements with the federal government. American soldiers who deserted to the Filipino cause. So a lot of deserters.
Deserters.
Kind of like, how did they even get out there? The Civil War, we did season 2 on the Civil War. California was like not even a thing in my brain yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Civil War was very East Coast.
That's yeah, I mean, you can almost picture, like, you know, I live in Denver, and I can almost picture kind of what would be going on in Denver in that time period. Like, I get it. Like, small town before the mountains, gather your supplies, go in the mountains, look for some gold, and make a day out of it. Like, what the hell was going on in San Francisco in the 1850s?
I don't know.
Right?
Like,
we're
there's
talking
people-
Confederate stuff. Like,
people
that's-
gold digging.
That's the last place you think.
Yeah, it's so far away.
Yeah.
So it's not just that the country's worst criminals were sent to Alcatraz, Jake. Like, it's not like you had to murder 20 people and you got sent to Alcatraz.
Right.
You could have just been a petty thief and made your way to Alcatraz. It was the prisoners who were the worst in prison.
Nice.
So who continuously tried to escape, who bribed guards and judges, who killed other prisoners, who were like, you know, just like, fucking, we don't want to take care of you. And they deemed them, what's the term to rehabilitate? They deemed them like unrehabilitable.
No comeback for them.
Yeah, like not even worth trying to make you into a good human again. You're
Right.
fucking done. This fun fact says it was possible to swim to shore. There's now marathons where you swim to Alcatraz and stuff, so it is possible. There's like,
that's a really good example of, like, I don't know. There's been a couple guys that have done stand-up routines where, like, Patton Oswalt has the good stand-up routine who he talks about, you know, people want to give natural births now, and he talks about, you know, in the 1800s they would have, like, in the 1800s, they prayed that one day there would be an epidural and all these things that help make childbirth easier. And this is like the same thing. Like, oh, yeah, now we swim from Alcatraz now for the good workout. It's
Yeah.
like, Jesus.
it's 1.5 mile swim, and they do it annually in the Escape from Alcatraz triathlon. But in 1962, Jake, a prisoner named John Paul Scott greased himself with lard, squeezed through a window, and swam to shore. He was so exhausted upon reaching the foot of the Golden Gate Bridge that police discovered him lying unconscious in hypothermic shock.
Sounds like he picked too cold of a day to do the lard trick.
Well, San Francisco's another thing that people don't know about San Francisco until you go there. It's cold. It's not a
Right.
warm place. It's always around 50 to 60 degrees with really a lot of winds.
Right, but he must have picked a cold one. I mean, for hypothermia, like that's not 50-degree stuff.
Well, I mean, that's the weather. The water's probably always freezing. I don't know what hypothermia, like what temperatures needs to be there.
I think it's got to be cold.
But I think if it's like 40-degree water, you can get it. But I don't know.
Yeah. Trying to Google, I don't know.
If you go,
So your body temperature has to drop to 50 degrees. So I guess if you were in 50-degree water for a while,
yeah,
you get down there.
yeah, I think, and the water's not warm there because it's never warm there. The warmest the San Francisco Bay gets is around 60 degrees. So yeah, so I guess it's kind of easy to get hypothermia or whatever. Some inmates requested to go to Alcatraz, Jake.
Sure.
Says, well, Alcatraz was certainly not Club Med. Its tough-as-nails reputation was a bit of a Hollywood creation. The prison's one-man-per-cell policy appealed to some inmates because it made them less vulnerable to attack by fellow jailbirds. And Alcatraz's first warden, James A. Johnston, knew poor food was often the cause of prison riots, so he prided himself on serving good food, and inmates could return for as many helpings as they wanted. Inmates who behaved had access to privileges, including monthly movies and a library with 1,500 books and 75 popular magazine subscriptions. Overall, the prisoners considered the conditions inside Alcatraz to be more attractive than at any other federal prisons, and several asked to be moved there. That's interesting. A lot of people wouldn't think that.
Isn't there like a baseball at Alcatraz history too or something?
They had like a little area where you could play baseball, like in Escape from Alcatraz. They play baseball there,
Right.
but it's like a yard. It's really weird yard. It's like this concrete square. Now it's all overgrown, but in the movie,
Trying to live up to my Civil War camp counselor lifestyle.
let me send you this link and see if it works.
Okay.
Because I'm sending you the Google Maps satellite image of the yard, and you can see where the baseball diamond was. It's just
okay, yeah.
So it's really tight, and then they played like stickball, and then on the right side you can see all those steps where just prisoners sat and hung out. If you watch the movie Escape from Alcatraz, you'll recognize this because they filmed it right here.
Right.
But yeah. The craziest part about Alcatraz is that all the guards lived there with their families.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's either back then awful. I could see like nowadays if you rolled that out, it'd be kind of cool.
You think so?
I think so.
It's easier to get to and fro now.
Yeah, just with like technology and stuff and the internet, and just like every time you go to school in the morning, you're like, oh yeah, that's Jake. He lives on Alcatraz. Okay.
I wonder. Well, now there's people that work there every day, so there's got to be some overnight workers.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. All right, let's get into this escape attempt that we're talking about. These are the people involved, Jake. They're one, Frank Morris.
Frank Morris.
John and Clarence Anglin. They're brothers.
Okay. Sure.
And Alan West.
Nice.
All right, so here's a little background. Frank Morris. He was abandoned by his mother and father during his childhood and orphaned at age 11, and spent most of his formative years in foster homes. He was convicted of his first crime at age 13, and by his late teens had been arrested for crimes ranging from narcotics possession to armed robbery. He spent most of his early years in jail serving lunch to prisoners. As he got older, he was arrested for grand larceny in Miami Beach, for stealing cars and armed robbery. The associate warden's record card at Alcatraz prison lists his crimes involved as juvenile delinquency 2, runaways 2, breaking and entering 1, burglary 1, narcotics and armed robbery 1, unlawful fight, Mann Act, and bank robbery 1. Morris reportedly ranked in the top 2% of the general population in intelligence, as measured by IQ testing, displaying an IQ of 133. Is that good? I don't know the IQ rankings.
Yeah, man, and I don't know, again, the time period. I feel like I've just seen those, like, dumb IQ tests that people would do online when they were 13 and be like, I have an IQ of 160. I'm a genius.
130 ranks very superior intelligence. That's the official ranking. Very superior intelligence.
It's good. Don't have that.
So that is good. All right, so that's Frank Morris. He served time in Florida and Georgia, then escaped from the Louisiana State Penitentiary while serving 10 years for bank robbery. He was recaptured a year later while committing a burglary and sent to Alcatraz. So he was a successful escapee of a past prison.
Other prison.
Yeah, that's cool. You like Frank Morris? You identify with him?
I'm all right with him, not with the IQ stuff. I mean, I appreciate the hustle too a little bit. I mean, back in the day, having like escaped a jail on your resume, pretty impressive and not as scary as if someone said that nowadays.
Yeah. Although he was kind of a bad guy, it seems.
Not a good guy.
Not a good guy. Next up, John and Clarence, the brothers.
John and Clarence.
Imagine being brothers and going to the same prison. That's kind of cool.
The Anglin Bros.
Yeah. It's like if the Lopez brothers got to be on the same basketball team in the NBA.
Very similar.
Yeah, they did it. The Anglin brothers, John, William, and Clarence, were born into a family of 13 children in Donaldsonville, Georgia. Their parents, George Robert Anglin and Rachel Van Miller Anglin, were seasonal farm workers. In the 1940s, they moved the family to Ruskin, Florida, 20 miles south of Tampa, where the truck farms and tomato field provided a more reliable source of income. Each June, they migrated north as far as Michigan to pick cherries. John and Clarence were reportedly inseparable as youngsters. They became skilled swimmers and amazed their siblings by swimming in the frigid waters of Lake Michigan as ice still floated on its surface. I wonder why they're telling us about that.
So, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. That's hypotherm swimming.
They are like David Blaine. They're like, this. I can just withstand this.
Don't compare them to a lame magician.
Clarence Anglin was known to have a tattoo of Zona on his left wrist and one of Nita on his right upper arm. Am I supposed to know what Zona and Nita are?
I mean, I had a guess with Zona, but with Nita's throwing it all off.
Yeah, I don't really get it. Whatever. They worked as farmers and laborers. Clarence was first caught breaking into a service station when he was just 14 years old. They began robbing banks and other establishments as a team in the early 50s. Usually targets that were closed to ensure that no one got injured. So they're good guys. They claimed that they used a weapon only once during a bank heist, and it was a toy gun. They were arrested in 1958 after robbing the Bank of Columbia branch in Alabama. In 1958, John Anglin robbed the Columbia Savings Bank with a toy gun together with his brother, Clarence and Alfred, as a third brother that helped.
Wow.
They received 15 to 20-year sentences, which they served at Florida State Prison and then Atlanta Penitentiary. After repeated failed attempts to escape from the Atlanta facility, the brothers were transferred to Alcatraz. So they're saying they only did one robbery and the only weapon they used was a toy gun. Do you believe them?
Well, they said they only got caught doing one robbery. Like, they said they began robbing banks in the early 50s and then they got caught in 58.
But they say they only used a weapon once and it was a toy gun.
Right.
Do you believe them?
If it was a toy gun, or what's the question?
That they never actually used a real weapon to rob.
Yeah. Why not?
All right.
Do you?
I don't know. Toy gun? I don't know if I believe them. That's why I'm asking.
Okay. I mean, see no reason why not.
Why would you get? Do you get 15 to 20 years for robbing with a toy gun?
If you rob a bunch of banks, probably, yeah.
Yeah. Well, they can only get convicted for the one that they got caught doing.
Why?
Because if you can't prove they robbed other banks, then you
What
can't.
if they could? What if they found other money in their backyard and stuff?
Oh, well, this says they were arrested in 1958 for robbing the Bank of Columbia branch. And that's the only one that they got in trouble for. And they say it was a toy gun that they used. Wonder what kind of toy gun.
I'm not seeing that here. Yeah, I mean, it could have been a wooden block. Could have been anything.
Yeah. I wonder if there's level of toy guns in the crime. Like, what if it was like, it was a water gun, but I painted it black versus it was a piece of wood? Or is just a threat of a weapon the same in in jurisdiction? Like, as long as you made people believe they had their life on the line, the crime is the same. I wonder.
I don't think so, but I don't know. I've got out of the legal game for that reason.
The next guy is Alan West. He was born in New York City. He was imprisoned for car theft in 1955, first at the Atlanta Penitentiary, then at the Florida State Prison. After an unsuccessful escape attempt from the Florida facility, he was transferred to Alcatraz. When West was transferred to Alcatraz, he was 28 years old and had the education of an 8th grader. He was arrested 20 times throughout his life. A lot of these people came from Florida and Alabama, it seems like.
This list, yeah.
Yeah. It was Florida and Alabama Penitentiary were a feeder school to Alcatraz.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. All right. Do you know anything about this escape, Jake? Have you seen the movie or heard stories before?
No. I mean, it's Alcatraz. It's like the white whale of.
But do you know the plan that they had? Because it's awesome.
Nope.
Oh, cool. I'm excited then. They began formulating an escape plan under the leadership of Morris. Obviously, he's smart. Smartest guy in all of Alcatraz.
2%.
After they were assigned adjacent cells in 1961. Working at night over the subsequent 6 months, they gradually widened ventilation duct openings in their cell walls using blades they found discarded on the prison grounds, spoons stolen from the commissary, and a drill improvised from the major motor of a broken vacuum cleaner. They concealed the holes with cardboard and paint, and their work noise with the Morris accordion playing. So they had music hours at Alcatraz. Al Capone played music there, which sounds like so annoying. If you get a guy who sucks at music and he's just like, oh, my turn to do the music hour. It's like open mic night in Alcatraz. You're locked in your cell.
You'd have more exciting open mics than others.
Yeah. So they would use that. So the spoons were pretty big, and they were just the way Alcatraz is set up is there's cell blocks, and in between the cell blocks, there's this ventilation gap of 3 feet that goes to the ceiling where their plumbing was. It was the back of one guy's cell, then this opening, and then the back of another guy's cell, and they broke through the toilet area basically with spoons. Let's see what else. The widened holes opened into an unguarded utility corridor behind cell tier. From the corridor, they climbed to the roof of their cell block. Inside the building, they were set up with a small workshop. So inside the tunnels, they had this area. It was pretty crazy.
Working area, I like that.
Yeah. They assembled a variety of stolen and donated materials, including more than 50 raincoats that they crafted into a makeshift life preserver and raft, based on a design they saw in Popular Mechanics. That's my favorite part. How do we make a raft? 50 raincoats. How do you gradually steal 50 raincoats?
Yeah, that's kind of my number one question. Why do prisoners have raincoats?
Well, I guess they would go outside. They were allowed to go outside.
Right.
And it's always raining in San Francisco. So I guess they were rampant. But yeah, at one point where you're we're losing raincoats every day.
I mean, do they get a new raincoat every year?
You would think it would be, here's your raincoat, don't lose it or you're fucked.
Right? I mean, this is Alcatraz. This isn't summer camp, you know?
Yeah, I don't know how they lost. So, like, that's crazy to me. They did it, though. They had 50 raincoats. The seams carefully stitched together and sealed with heat from nearby steam pipes. It's ingenious. They stole a small accordion-like concertina from another inmate to serve as the bellows to inflate the raft. So one of those like whoosh, whoosh things. And they built makeshift paddles from scrap wood and stolen screws. They had access to too many materials.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's gone from MacGyver to just like IKEA build a raft.
Yeah. They had a workshop in the halls, and they just had all the things they wanted. It's pretty crazy.
It's an activity, yeah. Hey, we need some screws. Grab a couple extra screws, okay?
Finally, they climbed a ventilation shaft leading to a large fan and grill on the roof and cut away the rivets holding both in place. The men concealed their absences while working outside their cells, and after the escape itself, by sculpting dummy heads with a homemade papier-mâché-like mixture of soap, toothpaste, concrete dust, and toilet paper, and giving them a realistic appearance with paint from the maintenance shop and hair from the barbershop floor.
I mean, they got paint now. Like, this is just arts and crafts. This is just a hobby.
Have you seen the dummy head? Do you see the picture of it?
No, I got out of there. Yes.
There's still, if you go to Alcatraz, their cell blocks are exactly how they were the night they escaped. So the paper heads are still in bed, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I guess if you just saw some hair sticking out, I totally could fall for that paper mache head.
Oh, yeah.
How much do you think they crafted their paper mache heads? Like Frank Morse, he gave himself a hell of a jawline.
Yeah, he was proud of his jaw for sure. I got to go back to the picture. I mean, he had a strong jaw. I mean, I think the goal here is to escape prison. It's not a time to get overconfident with your looks.
But you
need that to be as similar as possible.
Yeah, I think that they put good amount of effort into their paper mache faces. Like they were talking shit to each other like, dude, your nose doesn't look like that, John. You got a gross nose.
There would be a good smack talk scene, yeah. Like, no, dude, you're fatter than that.
So they put pillows and they appeared to be sleeping. On the night of June 11th, 1962, with all preparations completed, the men initiated their escape. West had used cement to shore up crumbling concrete around his vent opening, and it had hardened, narrowing the hole and fixing the grill in place.
Tough.
Idiot, not smart
Yeah.
guy. This was the guy who never graduated like 8th grade. He was just dumb as rocks.
Right.
He used cement. He used cement to fix the loose grate, which was smart if you wanted it to never be loose ever again.
Right.
But unfortunately, that was the whole goal of it. So by the time he was able to remove the grill and re-widen the hole sufficiently, the others had left without him.
Oof, bad feeling.
Put a lot of work in there.
Yeah.
And now, if the guards find everyone else's paper mache head, they like toss every cell and they find a paper mache head in his cell too. And they're like, I guess you were involved, man. Like, no. I was just making that for fun.
They told me this was just a fun thing, and like most realistic looking one wins.
Come on, everyone, get out your paper mache heads. We all did this, right?
I'm sure there's more than just the guys that escaped and me.
So let's see. He got left behind. He exited the roof and then returned to his cell around sunrise and went to sleep. Just goes up to the roof. Ah, fuck, I missed it. Goes back to sleep.
Tough.
At some point after 10 p.m., investigators estimated they boarded the raft, launched it, and departed toward their objective, Angel Island, which was 2 miles to the north. That always weirded me out that they tried to go north. They had to try and like have the winds. You know, the tide had to be on their side and stuff, but
yeah.
I don't think going to Angel Island, like, and then you're going to another island. So I never understood that part of the plan. I understand that he couldn't go straight south to San Francisco to like Pier 39 and the popular area of San Francisco.
Right.
but to try and make it north weirds me out. And I think there's proof that they did not make it north, and the tides took them. I don't know if you're still looking at a map. Took them to where the Golden Gate Bridge is on the Sausalita side of things, which is more Marin. But maybe
seems like that should be the play.
Yeah,
Maybe that was them trying to dupe them. Maybe like they left a note behind that was like, oh, and then we'll land at Angel Island North, and then we'll go here. And that was for the guards to find, so that when they found that, they would go look over there, and they'd be the other direction.
So it's fact and accepted by everyone that these dudes got off the island on their makeshift raft.
Right.
At around, what was it, 10 at night, midnight? And the escape was not discovered until the morning of June 1962 due to the successful dummy head ruse. So they had like a huge head start. 10 p.m. they escaped, and they had all night, like 12 hours.
Yeah.
It's great. The plan worked out well.
Except for the one guy.
Maybe he was a klutz anyway. Maybe they were like, they told him, oh, your thing's loose, cement that up.
One less thing.
Yeah. They were happy when he didn't make it.
Yeah.
They probably needed his help with like one of the things, like getting the barbershop hair or the paint. And they were just looking for a reason to ditch him at any time.
He was totally the paint guy.
Maybe he made all of their paper mache heads for him.
Tough break either way.
Yeah. An extensive air, sea, and land search involving multiple military and law enforcement agencies was conducted over the next 10 days. On June 4th, the Coast Guard cutter picked up a paddle floating about 200 yards off the southern shore of Angel Island. On the same day, in the same general location, workers on another boat found a wallet wrapped in plastic containing names, addresses, and photos of the Anglin's friends and relatives. Safe to say that's one of the Anglin's wallets, right? You're allowed a wallet in jail?
No idea. I mean, they got paint. They had music. It was a party. It was a festival. It was Coachella.
On the same day, on June 21st, shreds of raincoat material believed to be remnants of the raft were found on a beach not far from the Golden Gate Bridge. The following day, a prison boat picked up a deflated life jacket made from the same material 50 yards off of Alcatraz Island. No other physical evidence of the men's fate was ever found. So all this stuff went all over the bay. The FBI authorities were certain the men had drowned. They cited the fact that the individuals' personal effects were the only belongings they had, and the men would have drowned before leaving them behind. That's pretty loose.
It's loose. I mean, the wallet thing is a little bizarre.
Yes, but you could just as easily drop your wallet. I do that almost every 2 weeks.
And if you're escaping prison, that becomes less of a priority.
In the dark, where if you drop it,
yeah.
Okay,
that's
move
it.
on. I mean, they had to leave.
Especially if your makeshift raft is having a tough time. Yeah. And it just becomes survive.
They ditched an accomplice who could rat them out at any time. They're not really worrying about picking up a wallet in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
However, when authorities searched for bodies, none were found. Patrick Mahoney, who ran the launch that traveled between Alcatraz and the mainland, had some doubts that the men perished, saying, "I felt that they didn't make it, but I thought we'd find a body. We didn't find a body." As U.S. Marshal Michael Dyke told the news, the bodies of 2 out of every 3 people who go missing in San Francisco Bay are eventually recovered. During the investigation, Robert Cecchi, a San Francisco police officer, said that at 1 a.m. on the morning of June 12th, he saw an illegal boat in the bay near Alcatraz. A few minutes later, the boat left, heading under the Golden Gate Bridge. This had led to speculation that the prisoners had an outside Confederate pick them up by boat. During the investigation, the FBI dismissed the account out of hand.
I mean, these guys were able to get paint. They were able to make, like, not macrame, but they were able to make human heads for themselves, basically. 50 raincoats.
Paper
I
mache.
think there was a way that they were able to somehow tell some other boat we're escaping, pick us up.
Seems easy enough, right?
Yeah.
They got everything they needed. And for the FBI to just say, nah, that's that. And then discovering 2 out of every 3 bodies that dies in the bay. I don't understand how you know that statistic.
Right.
Because, like, you don't know how many bodies you didn't find.
Right. I mean, you can guesstimate a little bit.
Yeah. But basically, we find a lot of bodies.
Yeah.
But, like
little Jimmy Stewart drowned in the bay last week. We never found him.
yeah. But then there could be, like, someone drowned in the middle of the night that no one knew, and we never found him, but we never knew he drowned. So there's no way you can count that.
Missing.
Yeah. According to the FBI reports, on July 7, 1962, a month after the escape, a Norwegian ship, the SS Norefjell, spotted a body floating in the ocean 15 nautical miles from the Golden Gate Bridge. The ship did not retrieve the body and did not report the sighting until October. What? July to October?
Okay. So you saw a bird in the water. Cool.
You saw, like, a dead dolphin. They used to think those one things, they called them mermaids. They were those ugly fishes. Shit, I'm thinking on the name. That's what pirates used to think they were mermaids, but they were just a type of, like, dolphin, I think. Can't think of their names. Or type of whale. Anyway. So that's nothing. San Francisco County Coroner Henry Turkle cast doubt on speculation that it could have been one of the escapees, emphasizing the improbability that a body would still be floating on the surface of the ocean after more than 1 month.
Right.
Turkle proposed that corpses may have been that of Cecil Philip Herman, a 34-year-old unemployed baker. Unemployed baker? I'm an unemployed baker.
Same.
Yeah, we both are. That's awesome. So we're one of the same with this guy. Well, he committed suicide by jumping from the Golden Gate Bridge 5 days earlier. Man. Human bones. So basically the FBI, that's where the FBI leaves it. Like, we doubt they made it. We think they drowned. No evidence to say so. Besides, their belongings were scoured. What are you thinking right now? Do you think they made it?
I think they're clean, man. I mean, yeah.
You think they made it fine?
I've heard nothing to deter otherwise.
Okay, so recently, Jake. Recently, there was a big news about this situation. And
didn't they find new stuff recently at Alcatraz?
Oh, they found tunnels from the Civil War era, like on Alcatraz.
Right.
But that's awesome. But if you're not doubting it now, then I think you're fully going to be on my side, and this new update side, that proof they
doubting what?
That they escaped. You're on team. They made it.
Yeah, they escaped.
Yes. So I'm excited because we're on the same side, and there's new information that came out a couple years ago. That's awesome. In 2013, the FBI received a letter from a man who suggested that he was one of the England brothers.
Okay.
Let me find where I am in this. I'll just start reading. The FBI closed the case in 1979, concluding that the escapees were unlikely to have survived a treacherous swim of more than a mile of frigid waters to the mainland. But in January of 2018, CBS San Francisco published an extract of a letter addressed to the FBI that told an altogether different story and claimed that the criminals had been at large since the 1960s. The letter read, "My name is John Anglin, and I escaped from Alcatraz in June 1962 with my brother Clarence and Frank Morris. I'm 83 years old and in bad shape. I have cancer. Yes, we all made it that night."
Pretty straightforward.
The letter was sent to the San Francisco Police Department's Richmond station in 2013. The broadcaster reported, but had been kept under wraps during a long investigation. An FBI laboratory examined the letter for fingerprints and DNA and analyzed the handwriting within, but the results were inconclusive. In the letter, the writer explained that he was the last living member of the trio, with his co-conspirators dying in 2005 and 2008. He offered a deal. If the authorities announced on television that he would receive a single 1-year jail sentence in which he could have the medical treatment he needed, he will write back to you and let you know exactly where I am. This is not a joke. Would you take him up on that if you're the FBI?
I mean, obviously I would, but I could see the FBI, A, calling BS, and then B, being obviously too proud to do that.
Yeah, right? Like, if the FBI does this, they prove that they kind of suck at their job.
Right. And
they're giving a dying criminal that embarrassed them, like, the medical stuff he wants.
Like, you totally win.
Yeah.
Like right now, we're not sure. We're not sure if you won. And then this would be, okay, you won then, and now you win now.
Yeah, if you're the FBI, you just say, okay, internally you have a meeting like, all right, we fucked this up. They escape. No one's allowed to know. Don't tell anyone.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the other side of that would be that, like, none of the people working would have been the people that got duped. So you would say, yeah, let's find out so we could, know what happened so we could prevent it, even though it was like 40 years earlier.
Yeah. But they didn't do anything about it. They just tucked it away.
Yep.
Though this was not the first time anyone purporting to be one of the men had contacted authorities. It isn't the first piece of evidence that suggests they might have made it out in one piece. Robert Cecchi, an officer with the San Francisco Police, reported seeing what he described as a pristine white boat on the bay. We know about that already. And more recently, in 2015, they showed an alleged photograph of the brothers taken in Brazil 13 years after the disappearance. Can we put on our photograph detective hats and see if we think these are the same men?
Sure.
I just sent you the link to the photograph. But they're all like 60s out.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea. I'm pretty sure that's Amelia Earhart.
They got good look going.
Oh, they got a strong look. Guy on the left looks like my dad.
Okay, wait, Jake. I have a better picture for you. If I can remember, I will put these on our website if you want. But here, click this one and you can make it bigger, and it has their faces.
Okay.
Now, the guy on the right, I can see.
Yeah, guy on the right. Yeah.
Same nose, it looks like. And cheeks. Yeah, I don't know. No idea.
Yeah, really, really tough to line up those two photos.
I just want it to be true. This is...
So let me ask you this. They escape. They get to South America, however they get there. Like, what do you do? Do you just work a regular job in Brazil?
I mean, Frank Morris definitely started robbing and being a criminal again.
Right.
The brothers, here's the thing where you can somewhat root for these guys. They never murdered anyone.
Right.
I don't know if they ever hurt anyone. It was just like armed robbery. Like, they're bad guys. But that new Escape from Dannemora show where they escaped from the New York facility, those guys were murderers. So you didn't want, like, you couldn't root for them. Part of you is allowed to root for these guys because they never murdered or hurt any other humans.
Right. They were just trying to get some coin the easy way.
So I think you go to Brazil and you just, like, hang out. My favorite piece of evidence I've yet to disclose to you and the listeners yet, though.
Okay.
Family members of the men have also reported strange experiences that suggest there may be more to the story than many believe. It's always been talked about through the family, David Widner, a nephew of John and Clarence Aglin. My grandmother received roses for several years after the escape.
How about that?
Who would send her roses anonymously? It's got to be her sons who escaped. That's my favorite piece of evidence. That it's substantial, but that hammers it home for me.
Some old guy in town had a crush on her.
Yeah, it could be as easy as that.
Right.
Or it could be...
It is a nice piece to this story.
Or it could be the FBI sending her flowers to make her think her sons are alive because they think they're alive, and then she thinks she's going to reach out. I think my sons are alive. I don't know. Could be anything, but I like to believe it's them because it's beautiful.
It's a nice, yeah. Oh, I mean, I'm not going to stop you from believing it. It's not the hump that breaks the camel's back for me or anything, but the camel's back was kind of already broken.
The prison was closed the next year, and that's all we ever know. The family was pissed at the FBI. Like, hey, you didn't need to disclose that letter to the world, but you could have at least let his family know that, like, this was happening. But then again, I don't see why the FBI would do that either.
Yeah, I don't think they have to. Like, I get the family's argument, but also no.
So I think we're both team. They escaped. They successfully escaped from Alcatraz. It's such a better story if you believe that they did.
Yeah, and there's not enough evidence to say they didn't. I mean, there's not like I don't know. There's no other side to the story where you can just be like, oh, well, yeah, there was this crab fisherman that did have 3 bodies wind up in his net, but we can't confirm it was them, although they had the same height and weight as them. Like, there's no smoking gun or anything even close to it, so why not at that point?
Yeah. In 1973, the Anglin brothers' mother died. At her funeral, there were many FBI standing by to see if by any chance the Anglin brothers came to attend. That's the FBI admitting that they think they're still alive.
Yeah.
There were no actual sightings of the Anglin brothers, but there are rumors that there were 2 odd-looking women watching from a distance. They were unusual tall.
That's a tough break for those 2 old women that Mrs. England was friends with.
The tall, gawkly women watching from a distance.
Yeah.
They were wearing very long dresses with heavy makeup. They didn't say a word and disappeared long before the FBI. That is funny. I'm trying to see where that Brazil picture comes from. You know what I mean? They're like, and we think this is a picture of them in Brazil.
Right.
Well, like, who took it? Where'd you find it? Why didn't they give us any of that info? Let me see if I can scroll through that real quick, because you know what I mean? Like, you need to tell me why that picture exists. I'm going to say Anglin Brothers, Brazil. Would you go to Brazil? I guess where would you go?
That's just what I don't get. Like, I don't get. You escape from the Traz. You've got this big plan. And is it just, I guess I don't know. I don't know where my mindset would be. Is it like you're just happy to be like kind of a pauper civilian and just get by and be a free person at that point? Or are you just, do you go as heavy as you can into like Brazil, like, I don't know, like the bad guy game? Like, do you join the Brazil gang down there and be like, yeah, I mean, if you guys want us, I mean, we did escape from Alcatraz and the FBI wants us. And then they're like, whoa, these guys are legit? I don't know.
I think they sent this photo to their family members. It says, didn't we come across the name Widner? Wasn't that the nephew?
Widner, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think so. That's weird. I think they took that picture and sent it. I can't figure it out. I have no idea where that picture comes from. I fully believe they escaped and made it. Their plan was incredible. Like we said, they had access to everything they needed access to.
They had too much access.
They got to the roof and to the water and had a 12-hour head start on anyone else with a raft. The boat thing, who knows? That could be anything, but of course they could. And that wallet, I wouldn't put it past that was on purpose, that they like threw it downstream.
Right. Make them think we died.
Frank Morris was smart as hell. He's a genius, smarter than you and I, Jake.
We want them to think we're dead. Then they'll stop looking for us. Boom.
Yeah. You know what? The other guy's lucky because if he went with him, they were going to kill him so that the body led to more death beliefs.
Wow, that'd be a nice scene in the movie. Like, the whole time they were planning to kill that guy and be like, you know, this will be the FBI's proof that we didn't make it, and they'll use that fake we find 2 out of 3 dead people stat. And then the idiot guy will be like, oh, guys, I've got some bad news. I accidentally cemented up my cell. And they were like, and he's like, but I'd never tell a soul, like, you guys are good. This is on me. We've worked so hard on this. You got to go. And so that was like, they're like, wow, the dumb guy is really nice and likes us. And I guess this way we don't have to kill him. So, all right, have a good life, friend.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And he didn't rat them out. Or they're like...
His dumbness saved his life.
I wonder what happened to that guy if he got like a harder sentence. What's a harder sentence than Alcatraz?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, didn't you say they shut down the Traz a year later? Where'd they send everyone? Just like a dealer's choice across the country?
I guess so. Back to Florida and Alabama. They shut it down because it was way too expensive to run. Which, yeah.
Yeah, it's good real estate.
Good real estate. I also think that Alcatraz had hot showers, which was different than most prisons.
Nice.
Because it was the same water as like the guards and everyone else.
Right.
I think. I'm not positive on that one. If you're ever in San Francisco, go to Alcatraz. It's very cool. I like to call it the original podcast because they have real criminals telling you the stories, like multiple voices and like backgrounds. There was a battle of Alcatraz, Jake, and I think that's going to be a future episode of Last from the Past.
Okay.
It's crazy.
Like
it. 2 days. The inmates took over for 2 days. Wild. All right. That ends this. We got one more episode of Historical Mysteries before we go back to we start season 4, which will be different. And that's about it. Thanks. If you enjoy, we forgot anything, let us know. If you enjoyed it, leave a 5-star rating and review. We appreciate you. We will see you next Tuesday.